Some women choose to follow men, others choose to follow their dreams. If you're wondering which way to go, remember your career will never wake up one morning to tell you it doesn't love you anymore. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of The Leading Woman. My name is Carisma Esther and this is Ablaze TV. Today's show is going to be very much super exciting. You know why? Because while we are in Cameroon, we are taking some steps into Italy because we are going to be talking to an Italian today. But before I bring her to you, I want you to do me a favor, share this video, invite your friends to come and watch this live session so that we can get to interact with each other. And if you give me a few seconds, I will come back with my guest. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us, and keep sharing the video so that we get more people to follow today's show because it's very educative. Today we are talking to Madam Allegra, the United Nations Resident Coordinator. Her life story is touching the ends of the earth, and it's important for you younger out there who has given up on your pursuit for leadership positions. This show is for you. So today we get to watch this together because I had this chat with her and I decided to bring it to you. So let's get to talk to the RC of the United Nations, Madam Allegra. So we're going to talk right away. I want you to introduce yourself to the viewers with a little background on your beginnings with the United Nations.
Okay, so my name is Allegra Baiocchi. I'm Italian, but also born in Venezuela. Okay. And right now I'm in Cameroon. I've been here for 2 years. I am, as you said, the resident coordinator of the UN. And but I'm also the humanitarian coordinator and something that's called designated official, and we'll talk about that. What all these titles mean. I've been a little bit over 20 years now with the UN, but I actually didn't start. I started with an NGO, and I was working in the Great Lakes and then in Burundi specifically with a small Italian NGO. And then after that I had an opportunity to join the UN, and I've done lots of different postings, in lots of different jobs and functions, and since 2 years I'm now here.
Wow. Amazing. You've probably toured the world already before coming to Cameroon. So can you tell me, as the UN Resident Coordinator, what are some of your tasks? Who are the people? What are you coordinating? Yeah,
that's a good question. So I'm coordinating the UN system in Cameroon, which it's pretty big. There's like 20 agencies. Some have regional offices, some are just for Cameroon. And, you know, some of the big ones I'm sure the viewers will know, like WFP and UNICEF and WHO. But we also have many different ones like UN Women and UNFPA, Organization for Migration. You know, the UN has many mandates and works on many different themes. So my job is to make sure that the team is as effective as possible and it's coordinated so that our action here in Cameroon makes the best sense.
So far you've been in Cameroon for 2 years. How challenging has Cameroon been to you?
Well, the job is challenging because coordinating, doesn't matter where you do it, is a tough job because you have lots of different people, lots of different organizations. And so to bring them together, it's always a little hard, like I think any mother knows, or anybody who works with lots of different people. And of course, you know, in Cameroon, we have lots of different programs. So we have humanitarian programs, but we also have development programs, human rights programs. So it's also challenging to have an agenda that's so diverse. And of course the country in itself, as you know, it's going through tough times. And so I think it's always important that we find opportunities, but there's a lot of suffering, and I think that's very challenging. I've just come back from Buea, and it's always very difficult to listen to some of these stories and to think, how can I help and how can I do more? Because you know, we're very stretched and limited. And so I think it's challenging to know that.
I'm sure for 2 years that you've been here, you've been able to manage and you're gradually getting over the challenges.
Well, no, the challenges are still there, but I do hope we're making a contribution. Yes, I hope we're making a contribution.
Wow, thank you. So can you elaborate or tell me more about the Sustainable Development Goals?
Yeah, so the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs as we call them, it's a global agenda. So it's all member states that signed up facilitated by the UN. So that's the first thing I want to say, because people used to always say, the SDGs is the UN. And I would say, no, the SDGs, it's actually every country, and Cameroon signed up to the SDGs. So we're only here to help Cameroon make them happen. And I like the theme because it's the world we want, and the world we want by 2030. So they're divided into 16 areas, and they look at all different things, and its global objective is, I think that the actual report says, people are free from want and free from fear. So they want, it's imagining a world of peace and prosperity, where there's no poverty, where there's equality, where we have proper health and proper education. Yes, it's the whole gamut. And I think one important message is that they are a little bit like human rights. They're indivisible. So every country, you cannot say I'm only going to do SDG 5 or I'm only going to do SDG 6. For them to work and for really having the benefit of the individual, it's an agenda that you have to take as a package. And so with Cameroon, they were working to set the goals and the targets. And and I think it's very difficult. All countries are struggling because it's a very ambitious agenda. It requires a lot of capacities, it requires a lot of resources, and that's difficult. So that's a little bit our job here.
We're glad that you're one woman who has the capacity already, and we trust you how far. So can you tell me, what's your secret? How do you manage to coordinate? I mean, it's not just one, it's that like 20 UN agencies. What's the secret? How do you manage to keep everyone along?
I don't know if there's a secret. I think you have to have experience. I do think that, like in any job, you have to work hard to be good at it. And so I always try and look to take trainings and try to take courses. I never take it for granted. And and every failure is a learning experience. So we shouldn't be afraid to try and sometimes to fail. But it's important to know how to improve. And I think I know we're here also to talk about women in leadership, and I do think it's every person is different. Sometimes some traits that are specific maybe to me as a woman, I think come in handy. A lot of patience. A lot of trying to bring people along maybe in non-confrontational ways, and also really understanding where the other person is coming from. I think that always really helps to try and put yourself in the head of that person or that agency or that organization to say, well, why is there a problem? How can I help them find a solution? And I think all those things, I don't know if it's a secret, but those are the things that seem to help.
I mean, for someone to be as patient as you is a secret. Not everyone has that virtue. So let's talk more about the SDGs. Which one do you think is more crucial or is your priority in Cameroon?
I don't want to choose one because, as I said, I think it's important to keep them together. But of course, every country will have different priorities because they're in different levels of development. I mean, the things I've really picked up since I've been in Cameroon, of course, is the issue of women and the issue of youth. And so whatever those come along, I always speak to that because I think they're so central to some of the different problems that we face here, whether it's radicalization, whether it's youth unemployment or just discontent. I feel it often goes back to the women and to the youth who feel marginalized in this society. So I definitely think that we need to prioritize, all the work that goes into getting the youth to really have a voice, to really feel part of this society and to have hope for their future. And the same as women, I have to say sometimes I'm very depressed, I can even say depressed or at least disappointed when I hear about some of the practices that are inflicted on women, the level of gender-based violence, the level of inequality when it comes to schooling, access to services. So I think we have a long way to go also to get the women of Cameroon recognized, for their incredible contribution. Today we were talking that 80% of the agriculturals are women. So they make a huge contribution to the economy, but they're not recognized for that.
Seriously. Okay, so talking more on the SDGs, can you tell me how has the involvement of more women in that foster or bring faster achievement?
Well, I mean, I think what I think Kofi Annan always used to say it, women are 50%, so they should be 50% of everything. And we talked about 50-50. And we also talked about balance for better. I mean, if you just recently we had a campaign, and the campaign was balance for better. Because this is really about finding that balance. And the UN also has another campaign that's called He for She, which is important because it's recognizing the role of men. And unfortunately, because men control and have the power, we will not be able to get more women in power without the men.
Without the men,
So we will need them as our allies and not as our enemies. And they need to understand that it's good for everyone, you know, balance for better.
Yeah. I love it when you said I would need them.
Yeah.
Because at some point, you know, women think that since the bias, or maybe let me not call it bias, there's so much gender inequality. At some point, women think that men are not even needed. I mean, those leading women who have realized that they have potentials, at some point they think that the men are no longer even needed, which is not the case. So
because otherwise we'll just be perpetrating the same inequality, just on the flip side. That being said, I am a big fan and supporter of what some people call affirmative action, which is to really give more to women. And I know sometimes men get a little frustrated, but I say, you know, we have to redress thousands of years of injustice. And so it takes a little bit of affirmative action to do that.
Okay. So what advice will you give to a young woman out there who wants to be part but is not in the UN system?
Of the UN in particular, I think it depends. First of all, they have to make sure that they really want to, because sometimes it looks glamorous and exciting, but it is actually a very hard life.
Every young woman dreams to work with a UN.
Yeah, but you know, you'll have to think that you'll have to travel, that you'll have to leave your family behind, that it'll be very difficult on your family, on finding relationships. And so I think it's you know, you have to look behind the first image to see, and maybe, you know, so a good advice would be talk to people from the UN. The second is, you know, UN is so many things and so many careers. So I think it's important to say, I want to work on environment, or I want to work on migration.
Be specific.
Be specific. Of course, the studies, you know, there's there's international relations, political science. There's some careers that are more linked to some studies. So be prepared, that's for sure, because it's very competitive. But I think there are lots of opportunities, you know, and it's also, I often get this question, and I always say, well, you know, there's a lot of easy, you know, entryways. You know, we have a lot of internships here in Cameroon, but also across the UN. We have United Nations Volunteer, which is a huge program, and in fact, just in recent months, we have been taking a lot of national volunteers, so Cameroonians. You know, really hundreds of Cameroonians are joining now the UN through the UN Volunteer, and a lot of UN volunteers become you know, top leaders. We have resident coordinators like me who started as volunteers. I started as an intern too. So, you know, you shouldn't say no job is too small. But I think it's important that also as women, not only in the UN, but also as women maybe in leadership, I always have this one message, which comes actually from a very famous book, which is called Lean In. And the message is really, if you want it, if you're sure you want it, you have to really go for it. And you can't wait for people to invite you. You know, there's another famous saying that we say to women, pull up the chair to the table. And I think it's very hard that people will invite you to the table, or, you know, make space for you. Sometimes you just have to make space for yourself and really demand what you think is right. And so I think
there's so many opportunities out there. So if you want it, you go for it
aggressively. Yes.
Thank you very much. You go for it aggressively. So, ma'am, we would like to see how you double up as a successful career woman and at the same time a family woman. So we're going to be coming back over to you, but this time in your home.
Absolutely. A single mother, not only a family woman. That's a whole other job. So you're very welcome to see the other side.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you around.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice.
Wasn't that sweet? Okay, so now we get to meet Madam Allegra on the other side. We go to her house to see how she doubles up as a family woman, especially as a single mother with 2 kids. On this other side, we get the opportunity to meet her babies, Leonardo and Miriam, and they're going to be talking to us as well, telling us their experience with their mom as the UN resident coordinator. So let's go all over to her home. Thank you. Tell me, how do you balance up being a successful career woman with so many responsibilities and a family woman on the other hand, without, the roles competing with each other?
Yeah, I think that's like the question for any working mom, and I don't know if balance is the right answer, because I don't think we can it never feels like balance. It always feels like juggling.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to prioritize. And sometimes you'll be prioritizing work, sometimes you'll be prioritizing family. Every day is different, and I think you have to really know, first of all, that you can do it. You know, a lot of people ask me, how can you do it? How do you do it? I think anybody can do it. I think it just takes a little bit of planning, a little bit about being stressed. In the end, it is always going to be a little bit hard and stressful. But I think prioritizing is really important. But also, one thing I've really learned is that you should never think that you can have it all. So you always know in your heart that there's going to be things that you have to sacrifice, and sometimes it could be career, and sometimes it could be your family. But I think having it all doesn't really exist for women or for men.
What do you think is the greatest obstacle that's stopping women from achieving this balance? I mean, from sacrificing sometimes on career, sometimes from family.
Well, I think it doesn't matter what people say, we're still the ones who take the biggest load. And I know it's true in Cameroon, but it's also true in Europe or the States. It's very hard to think that there's a real sharing of the load. I think a mother, unfortunately, still carries the biggest part of the load of taking care of the family, the children, you know, whether it's cooking or cleaning or even just doing homework and playing and spending time with your children. So I think that's still a challenge. You know, people don't realize that we have a second job when we get home. And I think we need more help. And I think the other side, I think it's women have been hiding it also. They don't want to talk about it so much.
Yes.
And I think that's a mistake. I think we should stop acting as if we're men, as if we don't have children, as if we don't have families, because I think we actually need to bring our normal life to work and say, I have to leave early because my daughter is doing a recital, or today I'm not coming in because my son is sick, and not feel so guilty about it, because we are mothers and working moms.
So let's get to hear from Leonardo and Miriam. Let them tell us exactly what they admire about their mom, especially because she is a very busy woman. Working with the United Nations demands a lot of time and energy and input, and oftentimes she's not at home. But when she comes back, is there a balance that she strikes? Let's get to hear from her kids what they admire about their mom.
Like how she can work but also be with her family, and I like that she's helping people in the UN that need help.
Wow. Oh, how sweet. Thank you.
Okay, so like what Leonardo said, I like how mom can come home and it's normal, and it's not like, oh, this happened and oh, this happened. It's just normal when she can come home, and it's not like talking about work, and when she comes home it's like a family, and it's not talking about, and I'm not done.
And she doesn't go about work all the time. When she's home, she's home. It's about family.
Yes,
And when she's at her job, it's about the job.
And also about when she's about the job, she works very hard and she helps people.
Oh, you have a sweet mommy. Aww. Isn't that so lovely? I mean, she's such a heroine to her kids. Well, like they say, charity begins at home. It's important that we know how much impact Madam Allegra has invested in the life of her kids. And how else can we know this other than getting them tell us what exactly they have learned from their mom about the United Nations? Let's take a watch together.
So in our school, there's an after-school activity called MUN, which is Model United Nations, where we kind of act like if we were the UN, and we choose a crisis, and everyone chooses a country, and they have to like fix the problem in between themselves. And so we went on a field trip to Mama's office, and she told us about like the history of the UN and what they used to do and why they started it. And so she told us about like after World War II, some nations came together and they decided they wanted to make like an kind of a intergovernmental organization that would help countries in need or people in need. And yeah.
Wow, looks like you have a vast knowledge of the UN already.
But do you think it's easy for to get countries
No.
to agree?
Because sometimes like the countries that are having conflict don't, like the countries or people or like groups don't want to agree together, so it's hard.
Wow, thank you very much. You have so much knowledge about the United Nations.
Like Leo, instead of the after school activity, a couple days ago, Tuesday, this Tuesday, me and my class, we also came to the fair of the United Nations Day. And we also learned a lot about the SDGs.
Sustainable
Development
Development
Goals.
Goals, very important.
And
Do you know how many of them are there?
17.
Good. Wow. I should clap for you.
So, one of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, is gender equality. And that's important because a couple days ago, me and Mama were talking about how there has never been a girl president, or a women president, and what's it called?
Secretary General?
Yeah, and there's never been a women Secretary General. And I think that it would be really cool if that happened.
Yeah, it definitely happens.
And she can be the first president of America because she's American. That could happen.
Wow, super intelligent and smart kids. I think they deserve a round of applause, right? So give it up, give it up. You're so amazing. Now it's important that we know how Madam Allegra raises these kids at home with the consciousness of leadership, equality, knowing fully well that there are challenges that these kids will grow up to face in the world. So, Ma'am, tell us how you raise your kids with the consciousness of leadership and the challenges that stand ahead of.
Oh, that's a really hard question. But like in anything, I think we have to lead by example. So I spend a lot of time, giving examples of things that are happening around the world. Like Miriam said, often when we debate amongst ourselves women issues, because Leo's, as a boy has a different perspective on it, I give him examples and I say, look, around the world, where do you see women? There's a lot less women than men. So it's important, to look at the world and where it's going. Or we talk a lot about Greta, for example, and the example she's giving to us now, and just, I know we're all making sacrifices. I'm making sacrifices as a working mom, and they're making sacrifices as children of a working mom. But I try to show them that at the end there's an impact, and I'm happier because I'm making a contribution not only to the family but in my work, and hopefully one day they'll understand the sacrifices we made were worth it, and they're proud of me. I see that sometimes when they see me working. So I think it's to show them that in the end we have to find our goals and our desires, and we have to put in the work, and that always comes with sacrifices. But really, going back to this idea of what do we really want out of our lives, each one of us has to decide, and then make sure that that's how we build our life. And again, there's always going to be sacrifices for everyone, for men and for women. And you always need to know that if you have one thing more that you put in there, there's something that has to come out, and you can't have it all.
So I am seriously wondering, will Leonardo and Miriam want to work someday with the United Nations? Judging from how much they relate with their mom, how much they've watched her work with the UN, they've seen her go out there, they've seen her come back home and be a mom to them. Will they really want to work with the UN someday? Well, it's left for you viewers and myself to find out directly from them.
For me, I find the UN interesting, but so far I don't find that as the career path either.
So you don't want to work with the UN,
But you're happy we exist.
but you're happy
Yes.
that. Okay,
Good.
Beautiful. You're smart with your answer, Miriam.
I would like to be have my mom's job, but in a different way. So I like the concept of helping people and doing the right thing and stuff like that. But if I had to choose an organization, I don't think it would be the UN. I think maybe it would be
In different
what's
ways?
that? No,
WFP?
no, it's part of the UN.
And
What's the one of the American one?
USAID?
Oh, okay. Like volunteering.
USA.
Okay.
One of the things that I might want to do, connecting to the UN, is USAID's. Done.
No, I think because I think as women, we're always expected to be very male-like in our leadership, and I think what's important as we look to other women examples, and that's why I really wanted to do this interview with you, and we did it in the office and we did it at home. It's because it's important to look at women that can be leaders, but also mothers, but also caretakers of elderly parents, etc., etc. Sometimes the models we have around us, we never see that side of them, and then we think it's not possible. But instead, we should know that it is possible. And even as a mother of many children or as a caretaker, you should still think that you can have a career and and you can work and make those compromises.
Whew. And this is where we call it off for today's show. I want to believe that you picked out something super amazing. Did you enjoy that? Now, this is a woman that, to me personally, I think is a god, governing or leading or coordinating a minimum of 20 UN agencies in Cameroon. It's not bonbon, it's not chewing gum. She's definitely a god, a president ruling in a nation. And I believe that this show will go a long way to inspire you, to motivate you, to challenge you onto excellence. You younger out there, do not give up on your pursuit on leadership positions, because you can definitely make it someday and get to the top. I'm not going to take much of your time because we are right at the end of the show. And do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ablaze TV. Follow us on Facebook, Ablaze TV. Turn on your notification bell so that you don't get to miss out on any other updates. My name is Carisma. I look forward to bringing another exciting episode to you next time. Merry Christmas and a beautiful New Year.